Right now, we're joined at J-Town's Grill by the head baseball coach at Arkansas State. Tommy Raffo's with us. Hello, Coach.
Hey, what's happening, Brad?
Well, back at it. You played 5 games since we visited last. Back-to-back weeks, your team took on Southeast Missouri State. This time, you were the road team, is that right?
We were.
And it came out okay. You avenged the game from a week ago. So to recap that ball game last week against SEMO.
Well, you know they're one of the best teams in their league in the Ohio Valley, and very good hitting ball club. And we had a pitching plan in place with Ty Dickinson. We knew what we wanted to do pitching wise, and because we wanted to get to the weekend with basically some arms that were fresh. And so as we get into the weekend and we face their lineup, we get down 6-0 right away in the first 3 innings. And, you know, it probably doesn't look very good for us. But I credit our guys. I mean, they really stepped it up at the plate and offensively really started to back-to-back, and again, back-to-back quality at-bats to start to work for us. They threw in some freebies, but we earned them. There's no doubt about it. I think we hit 3 home runs on the day. The ballpark plays a lot differently than our place. I mean, there's a lot of things that creates offense. And, yeah, obviously Colin Massinelli hits a solo shot and kind of gets everybody excited. And it's probably a ball that might be caught here at the time. But, you know, that really just helps the offense go, gives them confidence.
Yeah, it's a ballpark a little bit, to that end, more conducive with feeling like you're not out of a ball game down 6-0 for that very reason, is that all of a sudden the ball can get out of the park and kind of help you get things going.
Well, it's a 2-strike swing, and so all of a sudden it's 6-1. We get the next out, so there's 2 outs. It goes HBP, walk, single, and we score 2 more, and all of a sudden it's 6-3 ball game. So it's a different type of feel in the whole field, and that's what happens if you can strike back, which we did, and we struck back with them actually with a 4 spot. To go 6-4. That was just a big momentum shift in the ball game, and it kind of changed the whole complexion of the game. They actually felt, even though the lead was up, they were up 2, it didn't feel that way.
The final was 12-10 win for A-State at Southeast Missouri State. Something we'll see pop up a little bit later in the week is you ended up in a couple of sort of a slugfest from a scoring standpoint this past week.
Yeah, a really weird game. I think one of the coaches at South Alabama, we were talking and said, hey, we look for not a lot of runs are going to be scored tonight. You know, it's kind of one of those laughs like, hey. And then after we shook hands, you know, dadgum, we had the opportunity with the bases loaded in the 8th with Tanner Ring up and hits a hot smash to the third baseman. And to think that the game would have gone that far along and that deep, and being down 12-1 and come back with an opportunity within 4 feet maybe to tie or go ahead. Again, says a lot for the effort and what they're trying to do at the plate with our guys. So, you know, I'm pleased with some of the results as far as them competing.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that Friday night loss to South Alabama in just a moment. A-State won the game at Southeast Missouri State 12-10, and then came right back home last Wednesday. A game we talked quite a bit about, playing host to Tennessee. And, you know, sometimes you tip your cap not just to a team but a guy on a team. And their guy, you know, they had a first-team All-SEC guy that comes in. Not many guys. You're not going to have many 2-homer nights in that ballpark. He did and helped the Volunteers get out with a 7-4 win.
Well, you know, Stewart, their 30-hole guy, was, like you said, All-American, and I think the first one he hit was over his head on 2 strikes. He kind of just flicked his bat out. He's got such strength that the ball kind of it looked like a fly ball, both of them, but he's so strong the ball just kind of carried out. And again, here we are again. We answered back and got back into the ball game and you know, tied it up basically in the 7th off of that. And they actually bring in their Friday night guy. They brought in their starting SEC rotational guy to end that ball game. So it's kind of crazy how that worked. And then they bring in their top reliever too to go into Ole Miss. So we saw their best. I mean, we saw exactly what they wanted to throw at us, and we saw their best.
Which is not going to happen a lot of times in that situation. Plus, you saw a weekend starter who actually started that ball game. The guy had started Sunday prior to that. from a coaching standpoint, not asking you to sort of speak for their coaching staff, but I mean, in the schedule of things, is that going to be the Friday night guys bullpen?
A great question. Yeah, it was. It was their Friday night guys bullpen, but in the big scheme of things, we scheduled it. I remember looking on the bus. They had a Tuesday game lined up, and so I was like, "Yeah, this is great. They play Tuesday, we play Tuesday, so all fair." So for some reason they didn't play, but that's their doing. That's what they got to take care of. But we had to make sure too on our end. Again, looking at our arms for the weekend, and Coach Ty looking at how to script it out. Derek Brzezinski did a yeoman's job of just trying to get the game deep for us to be able to throw, and he did. He threw a lot of pitches because we really couldn't go to a lot of different players, and we had to mix and match at the end, and we're kind of at the tail end of our bullpen.
7-4 the final there. The Volunteers get out of Jonesboro with that win. They used the best in their rotation to do it. And then to come back to the series against South Alabama, finally at home, finally in conference play, an opportunity you really think to play on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, kind of see where things fall. You mentioned a little bit, 13-10 the final, which just by itself, looking at the final score, doesn't do very much to tell the story of that ball game.
Crazy. You look at Tyler Zuber and what he's done on the road at Georgia Southern, with very difficult place to play, and Lafayette. You got to credit what they did against him, and I think that the strike zone, obviously throughout the night, was a little tighter than most, and it kind of benefited both teams. It probably hurt Tyler a little bit early. Went to some 3-2 counts and maybe didn't. Some guys got on base. At the same time, credit USA. They're one of the top hitting teams in the league, and they deserved it. They showed it, and they jumped us. And they jumped us 10-1 within 3 innings.
Come back then in a game that, obviously all 30 of those conference games, you talk about, you're a big proponent that they're all 30 the same, or 29 in your case. But with that said, I'm sure you came out there, after losing that tough one on Friday night. Saturday was a game that your team really wanted at home to give itself a chance to get to Sunday and win the series.
Well, no doubt. I think our guys felt we just kind of ran out of time at the very end. I mean, if we would have more time, we could have, obviously gone 10 or 11 innings. I think it could have turned out better for us. The way we were playing, if you look at the last 6 innings of that ball game, there's no doubt that who outplayed who. So, we get to Saturday, and obviously for us, we did a pretty good job of staying in, basically what we wanted to do offensively, and that was really, really good. And then, at the same time, we got a great pitching performance out of the bullpen with Cody Jackson. I mean, he just kind of held the fort down for us, and John's still coming back. He hadn't had a lot of time to pitch, but he went 2 2/3, and you can see a little rusty probably from not being able to throw a lot of bullpens. And but Cody Jackson did not throw during the midweek. Okay, we could have opted to throw him against SEMO or Tennessee, but we opted not to. And Ty Dickinson really felt like, hey, he needs the time to recover to get back to throwing the weekend, and it paid off in that game.
John Glidewell, you mentioned, made that start for about 3 weeks now, has battled a blister. For him to go 2 2/3, what was the plan with Glidewell going in?
Well, we want to get 15 outs, and one of the things he was able to do, he spun the ball better. And where the blister is, it really impacts the spin he puts on the ball. The spin was good. The strike zone, as far as getting in the strike zone, wasn't as good. And so for him, he feels better about where it's at. I think he's made some headway. Obviously, to get him more outs or help us get more outs would have helped us, but Cody helped us, and then Colton Kibler comes in to kind of slam the door in the very end for us, which was really good.
So A-State did pick up that win, 4-1 the final. Great pitching up and down the staff to get to Sunday, a chance to win the series. David Owen, a first-team preseason all-conference guy on the mound, and he's pitched like it. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, the story of Owen's season at this point has just been unable to get some runs for him, and end up dropping the game 2-1 on the finale.
You're right, Brad. He deserves a better fate. Baseball's a funny game. It's weird how it plays out that way. I think he's gone 26 innings without having a run help him, and sooner or later the dam's going to burst for him, and it will. We had windows of opportunity throughout the first 5 innings, and if we bloop a ball in, we had a line drive right at center field with the bases loaded, and we keep having better quality at bats during those times with runners in scoring position. The dam's going to burst for him. He's going to get some runs for him, and it's going to work out. It just didn't work out Sunday.
Talk about the job he's done. I think, a quality start all 8 times out there to sort of just keep coming out and not letting that phase him. Really, regardless of what the offense has done, he's come out and kept giving you a chance to win ball games. Well,
you got to credit what he's in the strike zone when he needed to be, and he got out of it. The hit they had to score the runs was a 1-2 2-out hit. That's kind of the difference, in the ball game. But, just phenomenal as far as just keeping us in the ball game. Just, hey, so what? Doesn't matter. They scored 2, but here it is. I'm going to give you 18 more outs for the team.
And one thing that we haven't talked about with your team much, hadn't really been the case. Even some of the losses is that really the runners left on base maybe is the key story in that ball game. I think maybe 13 in all, and the bases loaded maybe 3 different times.
Well, we've been in baseball long enough. It's kind of like that in shooting too, in basketball or whatever. It kind of comes and goes in spurts. You want it to last longer when it's going for you, and you don't want it to last at all, obviously, when it's going against you. But sometimes the game plays this way. And, when the dam bursts, like I said earlier, it's going to happen. And we saw some of that during the week, obviously with some of the runs being scored. Just couldn't continue it throughout the whole week.
We're going to talk. We'll come back late in the hour and talk with you again about what's coming up and kind of where things stand with your team. But not even the wins and losses, but in the things we're talking about there. Just sometimes just looking for that big hit and looking at how many balls are hit right at the other team. I mean, even last week you probably can count a handful of what should be RBI base hits that were right at the other team. How big is the challenge to just sort of get your guys to just keep coming when human nature tells you it'd be easier and easier to start to want to press right here?
Well, here's what I told the guys. We're down 12-1. I said, one of the biggest things I was watching our team for was what kind of effort and body language were we going to give off at 12-1? What were we going to do about that? Because the work ethic and everything we've done to this point has been very good. I mean, absolutely outstanding with our club. And then for now, this was a real testament. We have 6 more innings to go. You're down this much. What are you going to do? How are you going to handle it? Well, I think they showed us how they would handle it. And to me, that showed me a lot of the character of what we have on this club, of the guys being able to do that. Now, it hasn't been the outcome they've wanted, but they've showed us some things that I really like.
Tommy Raffo is with us live with the Red Wolves from J-Town's Grill. We'll talk more with Coach Raffo at the end of the hour, looking ahead to what's coming up for Arkansas State. But when we come back, we'll talk with a couple of members of the A-State baseball team. Colton Kibler and Lucas Feddersen are with us. We'll visit with those guys following the break. We're live with the Red Wolves from J-Town's Grill here on The Ticket. Come by, see us here at J-Town's Live with the Red Wolves as we're joined by a couple of members of the A-State baseball team. Say hello to Lucas Feddersen, who's with us, also Colton Kibler. Guys, we appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. 2 different paths to Arkansas State. Obviously, Colton is the shorter one, so we'll touch on that in just a little bit. We'll start with you, Lucas, a senior out of Houston, Texas, which is not as close as Valley View High School. So let the folks know sort of how you got here to Arkansas State.
Well, out of high school, I went to junior college in Missouri, Crowder College. I got picked up actually at a little camp in high school. Then Coach Raffo called me and asked me to come here, and I jumped on board, and that's kind of how I ended up here, scholarship, and now I'm here.
What about what about the coaching staff, the program, the university? What sold you?
Well, going to junior college, we didn't really have we didn't have an indoor place to hit in, and we used the same baseballs the whole year. I mean, I guess the facility really sold me a lot, and Coach Raffo sold me a lot. He always called me on the phone and make sure, he was always persistent with it, and so I felt like he cared, to have us here. So that's one of the things.
Now, I'm looking here at last year, 48 starts, 56 ball games. You started games at second, third, left, and right. So no one else started in more positions than you did last year. What about you and your game sort of gives you that versatility?
I mean, when I was growing up, my dad always made me play every position. So I would say that's the reason I can do it. If you can play infield, I feel like you can play outfield pretty easily. I mean, I feel like infield is the hardest, catching is the hardest, but playing infield and then moving to the outfield is kind of an easy transition. I mean, for me, and some of the other players can do it too. They just are needed at one spot instead of a few spots.
So we'll sit catcher out. Matter of fact, we'll take pitcher and catcher out, leave 7 spots, okay? Easiest of the 7 to play.
Second base.
Why?
I mean, it's just easy because you're so close, and if you bobble the ball, you just pick it up and throw them out still. And I think it's pretty easy.
Hardest of the other 7 to play.
I'd say third base is pretty hard just because you're so close, and the reaction is just so quick, and there's a lot of things that go on, as far as bunts and base hits down the line and stuff. You just kind of always have to be on your toes. So.
Talking with Lucas Feddersen, also Colton Kibler with us here live with the Red Wolves. Colton, a Jonesboro product, left town to come back. So same thing, to sort of fill in the gaps on kind of what got you back home at Arkansas State.
Well, I left high school, or I was in high school, and I didn't pitch really in high school at all. I was a hitter. I was an outfielder, and if you've ever met me, I'm not exactly the biggest guy in the world. So I didn't have much pop in my bat, so schools really weren't looking at me out of high school to come and play outfield. I went to junior college, and they gave me a shot, but it turns out it wasn't for me, and they made me a pitcher, and they kind of taught me my craft, and I learned how to pitch. And then Coach Everman, the hitting coach, was my coach at Garden City my freshman year. And after he left, he called me. He was really persistent with me. And honestly, I'm from here. This has been my dream school since I was a little kid. I've always wanted to come play here. So when they asked, there was no question this is where I was going to end up at.
As a pitcher, I mean, that's a pretty uncommon tale. You did not pitch until junior college.
I had like one out. I had an outing, I think, in high school. So I guess I did pitch once.
What made that work? I mean, what how did you take to it at that stage of the game?
Honestly, the coaches up at Garden City helped me, and then once I came here, they just continued developing me. So I guess just good coaching. I got lucky. Had some good people in my life and teach me how to do it.
That's probably a little bit more to it than that. I mean, obviously, at some point, they had to be kind of a natural at it. What felt, I mean, not that it was easy, but what felt easiest about getting to junior college and, I'll just become a pitcher?
I mean, I was an outfielder, so I always threw. And I guess up there, I was just throwing the ball, and then I had a natural arm. My arm's lower than normal people. It's not over the top. It's side arm, so it naturally had movement. And they taught me how to throw a slider, and then that naturally moved. And after that naturally moved, I just got better at it. I just continued working really hard, and it just seemed to work out.
And I know that's your deal. Matter of fact, we heard you speaking on that earlier today, is that part of what you think has given you success as a pitcher is the fact that there are 3 pitches you're confident you can go throw for a strike.
Mm-hmm. Yep, fastball, slider, and changeup. Yeah, I can throw all of them. I feel like I can throw them every time I go in there. I might be a little overconfident, but I think I can throw them every single pitch in the zone if I want to and out of the zone if I really want to.
I want to ask you a same line of question we talked with Lucas about. So if his play in multiple positions equates to your ability to throw multiple pitches, which of the 3 pitches is it easiest to throw for strikes?
Fastball, I guess, is the easiest because it doesn't move as much and it's just natural to throw it as hard as I can and get it where I want it to. It's just natural.
Which one's the hardest?
I'd probably change up because I learned it over the break. I just learned it this year. So that's the hardest for me. But it just came along.
What do you think would be the hardest period? A pitch you don't have? What because it was too hard to learn?
Knuckleball would be hardest for me to throw, I think. Little hands. I don't think I'd be able to grip it.
Let's talk about this season. We'll get with both you guys on this. I know record-wise, it's not what you want it to be right now, but I know it's going to be frustrating because it feels so close. I mean, it seems like every game comes down to just one thing, one at bat, one snagged line drive. You guys have been a study in how thin the line is between winning and losing ball games.
Yeah, we have. But we're still just looking at it one game at a time. We're just trying to get better each and every game to where we're able to, instead of being on the losing side, just make that one little adjustment to be on the winning side and just start winning ball games.
How big a challenge, Lucas, is that part of it to just stick with the plan when again, as we talked to Coach Raffo, the easy thing to do would be start trying to press?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, it's tough, all the work we put in the fall, and, obviously you want to win every game, but, I mean, nobody does that. Nobody goes out and wins every game, so I don't know, it's tough because it's just, we keep losing games, and like you said, they're games that could really go either way, and we kind of been waiting a long time to score. The other day we waited till the 9th inning to put a run across, and if that would have happened in the 4th or 5th inning, and it would have been a different game. We had a couple guys. I was up with bases loaded and just flew out, and it happened to other people, and it's just, I don't know, it's just how the ball fell that day.
One more thing, Colton, before we get you out of here, and not to go into I'm asking this question in general, not specifics, but that you're a guy that word is that you like to play, you kind of like to get yourself to the edge emotionally to play. Is that a fair statement?
That's fair, I'd say. Yeah, I get a little fired up.
Is that almost to the effect that said that you try to make yourself mad to go out there?
Yeah, I do. I have to get a little emotional, a little angry. It takes all my little body's got to throw it over 80 miles an hour, so I got to get a little something extra.
Well, we appreciate the visit, the chance to visit with you. This is a running question, Lucas. Last thing for you. What do you feel like is the biggest crowd you've ever played in front of?
Biggest crowd.
Or the roughest or the loudest?
Lafayette for sure. Lafayette.
And I bet never once did you think about being nervous about doing that.
I mean, nerves happen to everybody, but you feel good inside whenever you have everybody yelling at you like that, because there's a reason for them yelling, and at the end of the game they're just having a good time, just kind of messing with us.
My question would be this, and I led all that to get to this. Why is week after week it seemed with you guys that sitting in this chair is more nerve-wracking than playing in front of those crowds that are going to give you the business?
I don't.
Yeah, whoever.
Well, we've been playing baseball since we were little kids. We're comfortable on dirt, comfortable in chairs, microphones on our heads. I just feel more comfortable. I'm sure he feels the same way.
Yeah.
All right, guys, good luck the rest of the way. Thank you for the visit. joined by now a member of the A-State women's basketball team who over the weekend named to an honorable mention pick to the WBCA All-America team. Drea Gamble is with us. Hello, Drea.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for stopping by. Now, we've talked. We've watched you over the last 2 years. We've watched you accrue a gaudy list of individual accolades, and you would lead us to believe, and I believe you're telling the truth, that none of them have really mattered all that much. But with that said, even you would say, I mean, being an All-American is kind of a big deal, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's really cool.
So even you are excited about that one.
Definitely.
So how'd you go about finding out? The rest of us saw it in the press release. When did you get the word that you were an honorable mention All-American?
Chris Grady actually texted me about it, and at first I didn't really know what he was talking about, and I was kind of asking him about it, but then he was telling me, and then I actually got on Twitter and I actually saw it with my own eyes, so it's pretty cool.
So you didn't keep up with the process at all till then?
No.
Because they were running, all year long there was a Drea Gamble for All-America Facebook page and all this and all that, a full-on campaign to try to help you become an All-American, but you weren't.
Yeah, I didn't really pay much attention.
Well, I'm just glad we're just glad to hear that finally one of them gets you excited, because you're a 2-time Player of the Year in the Sun Belt Conference, 6-time Player of the Week, 2-time All Sun Belt Tournament team, and this is the first time this is the first individual I've ever heard you say mattered.
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want to be an All-American, I like I said, I didn't really think about it, but coming down to it, like actually getting the All-American honor it's cool. It's pretty cool.
It was about the last thing Coach Tate would have to hold over your head. So now what?
I don't know. I mean, I guess next year is when I pass her up or something.
Well, now you have an opportunity maybe to do that, because you're already a multiple-time Player of the Year in the league. Now, I don't think you're going to pass Coach Tate in the career scoring list.
No.
But you do sort of on pace to become only the second player other than Sanja Tate to score 2,000 career points if you held that out, and a chance to obviously be a 3-time Sun Belt Player of the Year. I mean, those are all pretty cool things.
Yeah, I think so.
Is there anything that you want to do?
I think the 2000 Club would be pretty cool, because I've only been here for 3 years, and so, I mean, I think that'd be pretty cool.
Give me your thoughts now that the season's over. Another trip to the championship game in the Sun Belt Tournament, another trip to the NIT, this time a second-round appearance for you guys went out on the road. Now that the dust has settled a little bit, give me your thoughts on the season that just wrapped up.
I think at the beginning we were all trying to figure out each other, especially with the new freshmen coming in. But I think throughout the season we got a lot better. And obviously, there's things that we still need to work on and to improve for next year. But I thought as a team, we did really good as far as improving throughout the season. The way it ended sucks, but there's nothing you can do about it now except for next year try to get even better and actually go to the championship game to win it all, completely flat out with no doubt that you actually can't win that game. But, yeah, I mean, that's about it.
This is not going to be a very fun part of the conversation here, but you've played in back-to-back Sun Belt Finals games. And even if the outcome of the two has ultimately been the same, sort of where the similarities end. At least from where I was sitting, losing that ball game to UALR this year didn't really feel much like losing the one the year before that to Western Kentucky.
No, it didn't. I mean, in the Western Kentucky game, we were up the whole time, and then it just slipped away at us from the end. And then the Euler game, I mean, we were just constantly going back and forth with each other for a while, and then they kind of pulled away when we turned the ball over. But I think the Western Kentucky game, I was furious, more furious than the Euler game. I mean, I was mad about the Euler game, but at the same time, it didn't feel anything like the Western Kentucky game.
Because it just didn't seem like there was going to be any doubt based on the 2 regular season games against ULR that somebody was going to win the game just like that game went. It's just going to be a matter of who came out on top of it.
Yeah, I think that was a big deal. I think most of us were just going into that game like just, in the moment. But when the moment came, like we kind of just clinched up, and the outcome was bad.
How much does that, fuel the fire to get back out there for what will be your senior season?
It fuels me a lot, actually. I think most of us, like most of the seniors, like Jessica Flannery and Amanda Lawson and all them, I think that, we want a chance to actually win the championship game, not to just get there and then lose. But I think we all want that feeling, because we all know what it's like to get there, but we don't know what it's like to win it.
Talking with Drea Gamble, again, honorable mention All-America pick from the Women's Basketball Coaches Association over the weekend. You mentioned Jessica Flannery. That is one of your classmates, but also a player that we just sort of saw different times late in the season. That it seems like when you and Flannery are on the floor together, you guys kind of are on the same wavelength. Why is that?
I just know her strengths and weaknesses, and I know when she's on the court that she's gonna run the floor hard, and I know that she's a spot-up three-point shooter. And as a point guard, that's what you want. You want people to run the floor, and you want to be able to find the go-to person, like in transition or so. But I think me and Jessie, we just have that click with one another when we get on the floor with each other.
And that was out. We saw it in the open floor. If you guys got out and transitioned together, it seemed like something good was going to happen.
Yeah, she's always looking out for me, so it's good.
And you even called her a spot-up shooter. Mm-hmm. But she's kind of sneaky, versatile offensively. She's got a lot of different ways to go in there and try to score.
Yeah, Jessie, sometimes she just has it in her mind that she's just a shooter. But I feel like as a player, just looking at her from the outside, she can do so much, and she just doesn't even know it yet. But hopefully this summer and throughout the rest of the preseason, we can get her going to where she's just not a shooter.
Well, and I know you guys as teammates too are hoping that the quality minutes she gave you guys coming down the stretch is maybe a springboard into a big senior year for her. Oh
yeah, definitely. I think this year was a big step up from her from the previous season, but I can't wait to see what she does her senior season.
Speaking of that, as we visit with Drea Gamble here, at any level, whether it be here, you're at JUCO, whatever, even in high school, have you played with a kid to take a bigger jump from one year to the next than what we saw out of Khadijah Brown Haywood this past season?
I don't think I have. She went from not playing that many minutes at all to starting, and then she was supposed to be a point guard coming in as a freshman, and then a guard, and now she's playing the four. I think she did a tremendous job of just, coming around, figuring out what she's really good at, and she did a good job of when Coach Boyer was just telling her all this different stuff of what she needs to actually give this team. She did a good job of executing it.
I know you said getting the 2,000 point mark would be neat, and you're right. I'll remind you were within. In fact, the fact that the kid at Georgia State missed 8 games is the reason she technically averaged more assists than you. And no player in Sun Belt history has ever led the Sun Belt in assists and scoring in the same year. You actually had the most assists in the league. Wouldn't that be kind of something cool to do?
I think so. Most people usually say that I don't really pass that often, but I think I do. I think I pass a lot.
Well, again, no player in the league had more assists. Just when you averaged it out in the games played, the kid at Georgia State, I think, only played in 22 games, but enough to qualify Anyway, she'd go to the person with the most, don't
Yeah.
you think?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now what? I mean, is there, you getting an All-America T-shirt made or anything, or just
No, I don't really think we get anything made for that. It's just something under your belt, I guess.
when it came out at one point, did you think, oh great, now people are going to want to interview me about this?
Oh yeah, when Chris Grady texted me this morning, I was just like, oh no. I was like, I already know what it's about. I don't even want to, you know me, but
What's your deal with that? Why I don't understand. I mean, for somebody who's done all that stuff and been an impact since you got on the campus, what's your big deal about getting interviewed?
I don't know. I feel like if that's a big deal, I think you should just wait till the end of my career to just sum it all up. It doesn't have to be interview after interview after interview, and
Well,
it's like,
that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
no, it's not.
Yeah.
It is not.
All right. Well, congratulations on yet another honor. We appreciate you stopping by and just doing another interview.
Thank you.
Drea Gamble's with us live with the Red Wolves here at J-Town's Grill.
I'd like a double white chocolate mocha, please. And add 1 milk.
Back on live with the Red Wolves as we head for home here from J-Town's Grill. Still time for you to come by and see us. Great place for dinner. The game's on tonight, the national championship game, Duke and Wisconsin, coming up just after 8 o'clock. So you can get by and watch the ball game and take advantage of this great menu they have here at J-Town's Grills. We welcome A-State head baseball coach Tommy Raffo back in with us. And for the first time since we've been doing this, only a 4-game week ahead for your team, just the one midweek game, which I think is the case the rest of the way, before another Sun Belt series. So primarily, and again, this is going to pertain mostly to pitching, just how different is that to just sort of have to find your way to game plan for how to navigate 4 games this week as opposed to 5?
Well, I think after watching Derek Brzezinski's performance on Wednesday of last week and kind of seeing what he'd helped the club with, and we want to put him back out there again. And we traveled up to Carbondale to play Southern Illinois, and we need to get some quality innings from him. And when he's in and out of the zone when he wants to, with all of his pitches, he can be very good. And so if we can get some outs with him on the road, and then see what we can fill on the back end, because the weekend's very important for us at this point in the season.
We'll start with Brzezinski. Again, Wednesday at the 3 o'clock first pitch at Southern Illinois. Give us a little bit of what you've been able to find out on the Salukis.
They're a young club. They're a young club in a really good conference. And when you look at their roster, they got a lot of freshmen, sophomores. So what they might be biding their time a little bit, making some deposits in the bank, what we call them. When you play a lot of younger players, you're just trying to get them out there and just put the deposits in, because sooner or later you're going to get some returns back when they get older. Division I baseball can be, for a younger player, there's a huge learning curve that goes on. And you don't know sometimes when that curve actually happens for a lot of players. You see it in basketball. You see it in football. Some of it's physically maturing. Some of it, or most of it, can be mentally maturing too. But they're learning so many different things. And then they're competing against maybe some players or some people that are older than them. So the tables are flipped a little bit when they were maybe freshmen in high school and they became seniors. And now they're kind of at the bottom, not the bottom end, but they're younger.
There are a couple of different schools of thought, I guess, with coaches as it pertains to midweek games. Sometimes you get teams, depending on what the end game is, where you are RPI wise, that almost, I guess some people go at them just like they're the weekend, just trying to accrue wins. You see teams, you even see Sunbelt teams that take a totally different approach. Maybe strictly are playing young guys and just saving everything up for the weekends, feeling that that's their course to postseason action. Is it case by case, team by team? How do you go about sort of how to attack your midweek schedule?
No, I think at this point in time we got some things scripted because it helped us to play 2 midweek games and to throw a lot of players and to see them perform. And I think that helps us ascertain, hey, this is how we want to go about it because we saw their performances before. And it helped us prepare also for the weekend. Now, we're going to 1 midweek game for the next 5 weeks or so. So that's going to help us a little bit with the arm situation. As far as not maybe using somebody too much, then going to the weekend not really ready to pitch. So I like where we're at. I like what Coach Dickinson's got everybody lined up to do. And, bottom line is when you go on the road, you got to be able to score early and you got to be able to keep pouring it on.
So that's at Southern Illinois, the 1 midweek game on Wednesday, and then from there to Troy, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for a 3-game set in Sunbelt play. And it's not a knock to Troy or any of the teams left, but if you broke your conference schedule up in half and looked at the first half versus these last 5 weekends, when you feel like you've played maybe the tougher half, when you look at the weather and losing games, I think played only 5 games at home, it has appeared to be a little front-loaded.
Well, you play the game to win, and obviously, we have our opportunities with all those teams, all of them. And you look at all 14 games, and those games are history, and that's what we, you move on. You got 15 now. I think Lucas Feddersen said earlier, we got to play 1 game at a time. Each game is equally as important, and we got to be able to do some things a little bit better, a little cleaner maybe everywhere, on the mound, at the plate, and then on the field. And I think things will turn out really good. The teams that we need to play to move, to make movement in the league, are the teams that are coming up in the second half of the schedule.
Troy, one of those sitting at 6-6 right now in the league. Another nice facility to go play in. Another place that, they've had more good weather more often than you have. But in that situation, twice lately at Georgia Southern, at Lafayette, I mean, those are spots your team has performed well in. Again, every ball game in that scenario has been winnable for your club.
Well, we're going to the state of Alabama, and those fans can get a little obnoxious at times. And so, it's nothing different with Troy either. They have some of those fans too. And, when you're in that foxhole in that dugout all by yourself, that's, you kind of got to, that's all you got is right there in that dugout. So, sometimes it's good to be able to kind of come together and do that. We saw that some in some of those games we saw on the road earlier this year, and I don't think it's anything our guys are not prepared for. I think they're ready for it, and obviously for us, it's important for us to go on the road and do well.
Trojans 500 in the league, 1 over 500, 17-16 overall on the year. Give us a little scouting report on Troy.
They're pretty right-handed dominant in their lineup, something we have not seen with a lot of the teams that we have played. If you've noticed some of the games we played, there are 4, 5, 6 left-handed hitters in their lineup, which is a little bit of a dilemma sometimes because typically matchup-wise, you look at averages. It's easier to see the curveball coming into you than going away from you. So this will be a little different. They're more dominant right-handed. Their right field porch is kind of interesting. It's kind of like a Fenway, but it's in right field. So it's short. It plays a little differently. It's a little deeper. Of course, it's all turf. It's a fun place to play. And, for the most part, they're pretty predominant right-hand pitching too. So it's unique. Every team's got different ways or matches up to what your team's strengths and weaknesses are. I like where our matchups are going into this weekend.
You get to the second half of the schedule. It's still 15 to go. The approach 100% the same. I mean, just about now accruing wins. There's come a point where you you guys start taking a hard look at where things are standings-wise, or is it still a week or two out of really trying to get too hung up on that?
Well, I think bottom line, second half has got to be movement from us. Bottom line. I mean, obviously the first half we're in a hole. We got to make some movement. We got to make some headway. Every series that we play, so every game is very important. It's almost as if every game becomes more of a tournament type game than anything else because you're actually playing for that now. Now, some other teams might be a little differently how they're setting stuff up. Obviously when you're playing, we have a bye weekend that's going to be a little bit later in the second half. But our games are probably a little more critical. We don't have as much equity built up in the league versus maybe a first place Georgia State. They're sitting pretty. And so let's say you had a really, really bad weekend. Well, you can probably handle that if you're at the top end. You can't handle it where we're at right now.
It's still a jumbled up mess when you look at, 5 games win-wise, only 5 wins separate first and 11th.
That's the beauty of it, Brad. You picked it out. That's the beauty of it. It's very observant on your part because it's all about the wins. Actually, we could use the game we lost to help us do well at the end because it's all about us accumulating wins, and that's the bottom line as we move forward for us.
I know we talked about it a little bit earlier. You've looked at scores and stuff, and I know Georgia State sits atop the standings right now, and that's a team you saw for 2 ball games. But you have a feel on who's playing the best in the league right now?
I'm not surprised. I mean, I look at Georgia State being the top. I see another Georgia team being up there. Texas State has played well and continues to play well in the league. We just played South, and they're the top 4 teams. And then you got Lafayette. So the top 5 teams, we played 4 of the top 5 in the league right now in the first half.
And to your point, and without really wanting to go so far to say is that first half was front-loaded, all of a sudden you look and haven't seen App State yet, haven't seen Arlington, Monroe coming up next weekend, Troy this weekend. So there are teams going to be in a similar situation here, as you and a team. So you're going to take on teams in these next few weeks where the stakes are similar on both sides.
Bottom line is you have what's in front of you. Our team does. The teams that we need to play and want to play are in the second half.
Yeah. Rotation-wise, everything the same, and I'm sure you got Zuber just kind of itching for a bounce-back opportunity.
It's kind of interesting. You see him do so well at 2 places that were really, really, I think, difficult places to pitch in, at Georgia Southern and Lafayette. And then if you go into that game the other night, Kevin Hill for South Alabama was like leading the league in Sun Belt pitching. And so you would look at it like, hey, this is, it's not going to happen. But again, both teams did pretty good number on both starting pitchers. So, for Tyler, it's all about him kind of regrouping. Not a lot of people understand, but he's a sophomore, and he's only started 3 to 4 Sun Belt games in his career. It's not like Jacob Lee is a senior. It's not like Andy Ferguson is a senior. They've seen it. He's only a sophomore, so to keep throwing him out there has been kind of fun because he's competed very well. It's just a little different for him this past weekend.
And then with you mentioned with Glidewell, continues to sort of work his way back there. We're shooting for 15 outs out of him on Saturday. Similar type approach this week?
I think so. I think that he still needs the reps. He needs to get back out there and get that feel of the strike zone. It was pretty evident Saturday. He spun it so much better, but it's just the Glidewell we saw 3 or 4 weeks ago, Sun Belt Pitcher of the Week, that time hurt him. And so now he's getting it back. He feels good about it. He's confident about it. He knows he's going to get there.
And then no reason to think come Sunday you'll get anything other than what you've been getting out of David Owen.
Well, he's worked his tail off. It goes back to the summer when he got out there with, doing stuff to get his body ready and handle the load. He figured it out, the load last year starting on Friday, and the load that goes through a whole Sun Belt year. I think that's paying dividends for him.
Coach, we appreciate the visit. Good luck this week, and we'll recap it a week from today.
Sounds great. Thanks, Brad.